Labadiena. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad I have this many people. I guess all managers. Are there any developers here? You should be there. No, why not? So I've slightly changed the title of the talk, so there's no Scrum on the slides, I think. So this talk is about how I think we should be doing offshore development in a light of Agile. So as you might know, I'm from Ukraine, and Ukraine looks like this. Although it's a software development company, we have lots and lots, tons and tons of software which is being produced in Ukraine. Yeah, and I work in a big company. We have 6 people. So actually, it's quite a small company. We call ourselves Scrum Guides, and we look at Agile as being an adventure, and we're guiding people towards the path they would like to take. So being a smaller company, we do a lot of big things. We do lots of local events. We do the Agile Eastern Europe conference. Has anyone been at Agile? Well, JB, Mary, Tom, great. Vidas, Jürgen, all the keynote speakers have been there. You guys need to come next year. And we've invented the Lego Scrum simulation. So we do lots of things, but we're quite small. And this is not about to advertise my company. It's to say that there is something which we are good at. And I think what actually helps us to do these big things are human relationships, which we are really working on. So, and this talk is about how you build relationships, okay? This is not about software development at all right? Although you can build your bridges. So I've done this talk twice, and the first time I did this talk was at AL conference in Berlin, and actually this talk was really positively met. And then I did this talk in Kyiv at the Agile Eastern Europe, and people, I think, didn't really like this talk. And then I started to think, why was it like this? And I think the reason was that I used to call developers children or kids, and some people were not quite comfortable with that. Who thinks developers are sort of like kids? All right. So I think in Berlin, where the customers are, they really see offshore developers as behaving like kids. But when you say someone he's a kid, he would not actually like this. So I think this is what happened to me in Ukraine. So basically, there are two sides of this wall. One is onshore and one is offshore, right? And Ukraine is where lots of offshore development is being done. How about Lithuania? Are you guys on which side of the wall am I now? On both sides. Do you guys outsource, like to Ukraine, India, or China? Or it's mainly you got projects which are outsourced to Lithuania? You get, okay. So we, I think, are at the same side of the wall. So I should be careful calling developers kids, I think. So still, I did this talk in Berlin, and Berlin is a really nice city. I really love it. So we used to make tours before the conference, and we were walking along the city and trying to find the wall, because I really wanted to see the wall, and we didn't see anything about the wall. And then we just stopped by a small shop which sells postcards and gifts and the stupid magnets, you know. And I saw a picture with a wall, and we actually realized we've just come through the wall without any signs of the wall. So the wall is not there at all. But when we talk about offshore software development, I see a really big wall which is there, which stops people from communicating with each other. So I used to be I used to live in Zurich, and I was a guy sitting on the wall. I was actually trying to make sure the Swiss people and the Ukrainian developers can really go together well. So sitting on the wall, you can see how things are broken. And so the wall is really there. And today I'm going to talk about offshore outsourcing and all these things, and I would like to show you some terminology which I'm trying to elaborate. So actually, outsourcing, it's a type of subcontracting where you have customer-contractor relationships, right? And outsourcing is when you transfer work to external contractor. And offshoring is a type of outsourcing when your contractor is located in the other country. And nearshoring is when the country is nearby. And there's another thing which is called distributed development, which is sometimes people confuse to outsourcing and offshore development. This is where you have development done on different locations, but you still are the same company. And team extension is a type of offshoring. So where you have a team which is actually based in another country, they work for another company, but they are still a part of your company. And these are two different worlds. In this world, we say they do it for us down there, and we don't care how they do things. And if you are working in this kind of environment, then you can do whatever process you like, and you can follow Mary's suggestions on how you would work with your clients and how you build your contracts, and you're totally free. You might do Scrum, you might do XP, you might do whatever. If you are here, then actually it's called we do it with them there. So we are all together here, clients and the vendors. And we need to elaborate a common process which we all be following together. So in my talk, I'm talking about this thing. All right? So if you look up Wikipedia on offshoring, it will say shifting work to a distant organization in order to reduce production costs. So it's mainly about how you do things cheaper. And actually, offshoring, it's a nice way to fail your projects at low cost. If you have a failing project, just outsource it to China. It's going to be cheap, and it's fine. Actually, this is not Manhattan. This is a Japanese cemetery, which is actually quite a fancy one. It's not a cheap cemetery. I think it's because offshoring has some hidden costs associated to it. Still, it's cheap. Still, people go offshore because they like to spend. They would like to save money. I'm sorry, and the local vendors would actually make them see offshoring as a very cheap thing. There are lots of costs which are hidden and which you will not be taken into account until you face it. For example, if you outsource to Ukraine, they will tell you they will get you Agile Java developers who speak brilliant English, but it's not true. I'm not talking about the Agile part now. I'm talking about the English part. What I really saw is that clients pay for English courses for the Ukrainian developers because it's how they actually see this. So you might see this as an expense, or you might see it as an investment. It's up to you, but still there are lots of costs there. But let me ask you a question now. So if we talk about offshore software development, which associations come to your minds? Just speak up. Somewhere? Yeah? Nothing comes to your minds? India. Okay, India. What else? Run. Not correct, I mean. Not what you want. I hear these things: cheap, slow, inefficient, works, risky, terrible, boring, scalable. I hear lots of things, and some companies have been quite successful with offshoring. Some companies were not that successful. And I saw lots of them. I think a year I see like 20 different teams in Ukraine which do software development, and it's mainly offshore teams because in Ukrainian the market is like this. So, and I see different things. Some teams are successful, some teams are not. And I started to think why this happens, and this is how this talk actually emerged. So sometimes it works, but sometimes it works just on someone's machine, right? But in order to figure out what's actually there, we need to come back to the roots. And I found a very nice trick. How you can make up an Agile talk at any conference. You make up any talk, then you put a slide with Agile manifesto in there, and it's totally okay to be an Agile talk. So I have Agile manifesto here, which is like which is obfuscated. I really kept the commas and the semicolons there, so the punctuations are there. But it's like things which you know, guys, right? And there is actually, I noticed this one. Someone is missing here. Did someone unsubscribe from an Agile manifesto? Someone is missing. I don't know. So, but this is mainly about this thing which I'm talking now. Individuals and interaction of processes and tools, right? And I think, like, actually, normal people would not state this thing. I think normal people would just call individuals in interactions relationships. I think this is about relationships. And you might think communication is a good word, but communication is a part of relationships, right? I'm not sure actually if you can use multiple, plural. You can. Oh, yes. Okay, I'm saved. So relationships and processes and tools. And I don't like this over thing. I see these three things being a part of the whole thing. Yeah? And this is a tree which has roots, branch, and leaves, right? So I see these three things as being a part of the whole: relationship, processes, and tools. And you guys are doing Scrum, XP, Kanban, whatever, and this is processes. And we're quite good at that. You can go read books about that. There's tons of material on that. And we have lots of information about the tools, like AGB would do a masterclass for you teaching your BDD, TDD, whatever DD you like. But relationships, I think, I'm sorry if it sounds bad, but yeah, actually there is TDD, BDD, DDD, any other DDDs, ADDD, JBDD, JBDD. I think this would be the name of the course.
I'll get the URL.
Before it's too late. Okay, so I'm talking about the roots, and I think when the roots are there, everything will be okay. If you have proper relationships with the client, then you will be able to do Scrum, Kanban, XP, and everything. But if not, there will be a failure. Quite cheap, though. So I have this metaphor that building a team is similar to building a family. And I was able to, like, based on my experience with dating with different women and having my family and being divorced, I've come up with this pattern, which I think normal people like me follow. So you start dating with someone, you try to understand whether this person is the kind you like or not. And then the best way to test if actually he or she is the right person is to move in and to try living together. And then surprises come. Right? And this is quite similar how you actually build your teams. You staff your team and then you start doing something together with your team on a sustainable basis. And then if you survive this period, then you go into some other phase, which is something to deal with the flow. You don't really have these candles for the whole night, and you don't drink wine and do these romantic things. You try to start living your normal life, like returning to your flow, right? And this is how actually development teams do. And this would be probably the thing to start optimizing how it all works and speed things up. And when it's done, you are trying to plan your family, having your kids, or maybe it's just there, or you scale up your team, right? And when we talk about relationships, I think in these two stages where actually relationships are being set, and these stages are very important. Oh, I have a reminder to tell you a story, because I always forget to tell stories. I'm just so much focused on the slides and on time. So, okay, a story. What's the story about? Okay, I remember now. So someday I got a call, and with like international number was calling. And I like when international numbers are calling me, because this cannot be your tax advisor. Most likely this is your new client. So I got a call, and this was a German person speaking to me, and he said, we're based in Berlin, but we have a team down in Kharkiv, which is a city on the east of Ukraine, and we have some problem down there. I think it's about estimations. We would like you to come to Kharkiv to do a one-day training on estimations. And I thought something, but I said, well, okay, estimations, no problem. Because, I mean, they always have problems with estimations, but before you come there, you cannot really help them. So I said, okay, I can do the course on estimations, and then we can actually sit together and do a retrospective for your half-a-year project, and then we see if you guys need something else from me. And it was all settled down. I went to Kharkiv, and actually, this guy also from Berlin, he was playing a product owner's role there, so he also came to visit his team, and this was 6 months since they have started the project, and this was the first time he ever came to Kharkiv to see people working with them. So they actually didn't need any Agile coach, they needed someone else, like a psychiatrist, right? Or someone else. They were somewhere here already, they were hiring new people without actually going properly through these stages. So actually this story has a sad end. Well, I did my job. I did the estimation thing, story points and cards, everything was fine. In 2 months, the team and the customer got divorced. And when actually in software development, it's quite well elaborated how you do divorces. It's not like with your family, because it's like the software team which takes the estimations, and then it's the client who takes the code base. So it's like this. So the customer went away. So my first advice would be to start living together with your team. I know you guys are on the offshore side of the wall, so this is not for you, but maybe you can pass this message on to people who you work with. So I really think you should start doing things shoreless. I see good, successful companies which do offshore development. They hire people in Ukraine, and they take them to Denmark for 2 weeks or to Germany for months, and they start to live together. And this is how you actually know people and check if these people are actually the people you need, right? So I have 4 advices here. So do first sprints together. Do short sprints. The shorter the better, because you're not focused on the results, you are focused on things you can learn from these experiments. And you have to celebrate often. Don't do retrospectives, just do parties. Go somewhere, have beer, discuss things, right? And stay with your team, which means if you were a customer, I would actually recommend you to stay as much time with the team as you can. I have another story which just came to my mind. I was at this situation where I was treated as a part of a family. I used to work for one Danish company in Ukraine, so they Danes hired me, and they took me for 1 month to stay in Odense, in a city in Denmark, because I was the first hire, and I used to be a team lead for the team to be, and they wanted to know me well, and they wanted to transfer the culture and knowledge. So the good thing actually they didn't put me in a hotel. I was staying at the apartments with the employees of the company. So actually they spent with me 24 hours a day, basically. So I made friends with these people, and I was really feeling I was a part of the family. And then I came back to Kiev. We hired together some more people, and we were putting this exchange program in place so that everyone can see everyone. People were rotating. So is it expenses or investments to take your people on site, to spend 24 hours with them? I think it depends how you see at these things. These are extra costs which probably are not in your contract, but I think these are more investments. If you're trying to build a long-term relationship. If your goal is to start dating and then change your partner, maybe not. Okay, you don't have to make applause. Actually, thank you. It all started 2 weeks ago in Kiev when we had Agile Eastern Europe, and Jürgen was doing a keynote. And I think it's a good tradition. Let's keep up. Okay, next thing. Are you guys okay? Did you come to the right room? I did. But because I was sad to, but good for you, great. Relationships are starting there, right? But there are different kinds of relationships. And there are a kind of relationships. So one kind of relationships might be this one. You have a customer and you have a contractor. Well, I said you will be building relationships, and this one type of relationship you might be building. And when you do this, you will not be actually expecting anything from your team than this. Yes, sir. And if you outsource to India, you might hear this one. It's coming. So whenever I'm in India and I'm ordering food, and it's like 40 minutes after I've ordered and the food is not there, I call a servant, and the one thing he tells me is always this one. It's coming. So it's either yes, sir, or it's coming. Because it was built this way. One thing which is quite interesting about this kind of relationship is this one. It's called Power Distance Index. I think it was first written by Professor Jude Hofstede, and I got it from Malcolm Gladwell and his books. So the idea is actually this, that the guy was able to build up measurements to see how different cultures treat power and distance to their power. Of course, in the Eastern cultures, you have quite a big distance to your boss, right? On the West side, it's more like a partnership and friends. So these guys was able to put some figures in there. So I put something for you. So it's 40 in USA, something, 40 PDIs, okay? And it's 69 in Brazil, it's 93 in Russia. Sometimes the bosses are bears, right? And it's 77 in India, and actually it's 31 in Sweden and all over the Scandinavian part. So actually here people are quite on their right leg with the bosses. And Ukraine is not measured, neither Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia for some reason. I think in Ukraine it's something like 50, 60. What's interesting is that here it's never zero, so there's always a distance between a boss and someone who works for him, for her, right? And whenever you are building a relationship so you have a boss and a contractor, you always have this thing there. Actually, Malcolm Gladwell, he has this nice story in his book about Korean Airlines. Have anyone read that? So at some point there were lots of problems in Korean Airlines because there were lots of crashes with their aircrafts, and they were trying to figure out what was causing these problems. And the problem actually was that it was root caused down to a thing that the index, the PDI, is quite high in Korea. So whenever the first pilot does something, the second pilot doesn't have any power to criticize him. But actually, they have two pilots there, so they together can make up good solutions. So what actually they did, the first thing they did to fix this issue, they made the pilots speak in English. Because when you speak the foreign language, you actually are changing your culture. So now I'm speaking English to you. I'm completely different when I speak Russian. I'm totally different person. I don't know what Agile is. I don't know how to do Scrums. But when I put my English hat, I'm the Agile guy. So this is what happens when you change your culture. So they actually made the pilots speak English, and this actually changed the whole thing. And now the second pilot might say things like, well, I think you should go this way because there's a big mountain. I think you should go right. Or before that, the second pilot did not even try to speak up. So make sure, keep in mind, the PDI is always there. Another kind of relationship you might be building is this one. Who are the people you would do everything you can for? Who are the people you'd gladly be giving your commitments for? Who are those people you would do everything for? Family? Yes? Friends. And a family is also friends, right? So if you are trying to build friendly connections, then you actually, if you are a customer, if you are online on-site a customer and you have your team offshore, if you were able to build friendly relationships with them, they will be doing more for you than in the situation when you were trying to play a boss with them. Actually, I promised not to call developers kids, and now I'm trying to compare them to monkeys. Actually, this is a chimpanzee. This is a chimpanzee, and I think the IQ of a chimpanzee is about the IQ of a 3-4 years children. So these people have quite similar IQ. So I'm not comparing a smart guy to a bad guy. Okay, so not this. The developers are not monkeys. Okay, please don't tweet. Alexei said developers are monkeys. You guys don't tweet at all, I know. Too late. You tweet it. Crap. Then you should make a screenshot of this one. So why don't we just make friends with the customers and help our customers make friends with us? Yeah. So the suggestions I have here are these ones. You should try to build friendly atmosphere, and you have to do as much as you can face-to-face meetings and pair on different things. When I was in Denmark, hired by that Danish company, I was spending all my time pairing on different things, on requirements, on design, on code with different people. And how did you make friends when you were kids? You were playing with them, right? In the yard. So why don't we start playing instead of making projects? It's boring. Just let's make fun of it and let's try to turn jobs into games, right? So, yeah, play as a team, group activities over I decided thing. Don't expect results. You have to focus on relationships and learning on the early stages of building a relationship between a customer and a team. Go for lunches together, okay? And this thing again, is it expenses or it's investment? What do you think now? If it's long term. Yeah. So you have already heard two metaphors from me. How do I compare a relationship between a customer and a team? What was the first one? Can anyone remember? The first metaphor, how you build a relationship. You have where these four stages. Okay, so your spouse, your team is your spouse. What was the second one? Friends, your friends. And now I'm going to talk about the third one. So I have these three metaphors, which I think all are applicable at some point. So these buildings are quite nice buildings, right? And offshore vendors might have different offices down there in Kyiv or in China, in India. These buildings might look different and fancy, but actually in the deep nature, they're all like this. Okay? Just lots of homeless kids looking for the moms and dads. I really see offshore vendors as being kindergartens or houses with homeless kids in there. Because if being an onshore client, you think the offshore vendor down there would be playing a mother role for your team, this is not true from what I see in Ukraine. The goal of these local vendors, offshore vendors, is actually to sell hats. The more hats they sell, the more profit they make. They're not actually interested in investing in the people as much as if it's your team, right? So I'm not saying developers are like kids. I'm saying it might change your view if you try to look as developers as kids. So if our teams were kids, what hiring would look like? I think it's adoption, right? We don't hire anymore. We adopt people to our family. I think this is quite powerful. I'm not sure why you're not applauding, so I'm just gonna drink water. Yeah, I'm not sure who this guy is actually. Is he adopted or not? I'm not sure. Maybe it's Indian developer who like to be adopted. Or a Chinese guy, yeah? Looks like Chinese to me. So, what was that? Example. Oh yeah, I had to tell you an example. Yeah, so there's one company in Ukraine which is called Cyclum. And I'm not get paid by Cyclum for these promotions, but I used to work for this company 5-6 years ago, and I know how it works. So this company actually changed the status quo of how offshore vendors operate. They started being a normal offshore provider, and you just go there, you sign a fixed time contract, and they will be managing their team to deliver you a product. And then they realized it's actually not working at all. Because if you, as a client, would like to raise a salary for one of those developers, the vendor is not actually interested in paying more to this guy, right? So they changed the structure, the contracts, and they actually changed themselves into a kindergarten. What they do, they help you hire the right people there, and they provide you the right infrastructure to do your software development. Everything else is your responsibility. Come there to treat your developers nicely. Actually, it's clients who pay salaries to Ukrainian developers, not Cyclum anymore. Cyclum just earns some percentage of the salary. I think this is how this company became such a good company for the last couple years, and I would like to see more companies who change to this type of contracting. Do you guys have any similar companies like this in Lithuania, where customers own the teams and do everything they need for the teams and pay for trainings, conferences? Actually, Agile Eastern Europe conference is a nice example. We had up to 400 people. And there were people from, I think, 100 different IT companies, and 60 people were from Cyclum. It was the highest number ever Guess what? Because it's the customers who actually paid for the local developers to visit a local conference. I think this is quite smart. So the advices here are this one: don't delegate hiring. If you would go adopting a kid, would you delegate this job to anyone? No, of course not. You would go there and you would choose the kid you like, right? With the right form of nose, with the right color of hair, things like this. And you really need to like the people you hire. Because what actually happens is that people are being hired after they pass technical interviews. But it doesn't mean you would go well together with this senior Java developer. I think you need to take into account how much you like this person, and then take into account how good she is at doing their particular jobs. You can invite JB again, and these guys will be doing JBDD in a month. But if you don't like this person, there's nothing you can change about it. So hire people you like. And once you hire the first people or a team lead, these local guys can actually help you to hire the other ones, because you are building a family. Everyone in a family needs to like each other, right? You're not hiring for you, you're hiring for them to work together. And test people again by moving them in. So once you hire someone, take them on site and do things with them, go having beer, do some jobs, help them set up the infrastructure, things like this. And again, right? So it's 38 minutes since I've started, 5 minutes more. So I've taken you through these 3 strange metaphors. I do actually really think it changes the style of your work if you look as your team, as your spouse. This metaphor has some limitations, right? And it's nice if you treat your team as your friends. And sometimes when you hire people, it's actually quite helpful if you look at them as kids, which you adopt. So let's not build any more Berlin walls, any other walls. And actually, after this talk, this wall will be removed, which I really appreciate. So thank you very much for being here. I didn't see that many people leaving this room while I've been talking, which is a good sign. Or maybe in Lithuania, people are quite shy to leave when they don't like things. Or maybe you really liked it. So thank you very much.